Alright everybody, it's time. It Chapter 2 is finally in theaters this Friday. And what's the better way to possibly do an epic movie review is to go ahead and have an epic opening before my review. So here is my review for It Chapter 2.
Lakers fight on the hill in the early day, constant chill deep inside. Shouting gone, or they run through the endless grey, or they fight for what's right, but who's to say? For a hill who men would kill for do not know, stiffened wounds test their pride. Men of five still alive through the raging glow, gone insane from the pain that they surely know. For whom the bell tolls, time marches on. For whom the bell tolls, yeah. Take a look to the sky just before you die. It's the last time you will. Black and raw, massive raw fills the crumbling sky. Shattered gold fills his soul with a ruthless cry. Stranger now are his eyes, but it's the mystery. Here's the silence so loud, loud, loud. Crack of dawn, all is gone except the will to be. Now they see what will be blinded eyes to see. For whom the bell tolls, time marches on. For whom the bell tolls, yeah, the bell tolls, yeah.
Movie review is rated R for retarded. In a world full of crime, corruption, and destruction, one man decides to review movies. This is Devil Dog at the Movies. Alright, everybody, I'm back from going and seeing It Chapter 2. Now, first of all, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'm not going to spoil anything of this movie. Second of all, this movie is very, very long. The runtime is about 3 hours long, so keep that in mind when you go to see this. Now, I'm not going to compare this to other people's reviews where they're all saying the same thing. Okay, they say that several parts could have been cut and thrown out, that the movie's too bloated, bloated and floated, a little too long. Bill Hader does a good job. I'm not going to be like that. Everybody's heard these critiques of this movie. I'm going to tell you personally my personal feeling of this movie. Does it hold a candle to the first movie? Is it better, and does it at least have a good ending to it? Honestly, I have to say, even though this movie's runtime is super long, and they do have a tendency of doing way too many flashbacks, flash forwards, flashbacks, flash forwards, flashback. So I was waiting for a flash sideways to happen. Honestly, it's not that bad. I wasn't bored. The flow of the movie didn't seem slow to me at all. It starts off, basically, you could slap it at the very end of the first one. It continues on very nicely as they go and progress through, explaining how the Losers Club rejoins back and comes back to Derry after 27 years to fight and defeat it for the final time. Now, one thing I do have to point out is there is a part at the very beginning that is pretty much trying to get the ball rolling, and they kind of bring in some fan service from the book, some other stuff from the book, which was appreciative, but they didn't really expand on it too much. Next thing I'd have to say is this game has game has a lot more gore and jump scares in it than the first one did. A lot more gory scenes, a lot more scenes of monsters and stuff like that. But the only problem I have to say with this is I think the CGI that they use is not that well done. It's passable. I mean, seriously, as long as you're not super nitpicky about it, you can go and watch this movie and enjoy it. But to me, personally, I don't like the way that computer-generated effects look these days. It looks too fake. It does not look like it's there on screen. There are certain parts where they use practical effects and they look fantastic, honestly. And the other big gripe was about people talking about all the, oh look, the young kids, the losers, they got de-aged because they took the original actors from the first movie and they de-aged them so they looked the same age as they. I didn't really notice. I really didn't notice that. I'm not going to nitpick on that either. I personally wouldn't have given a rat's ass if they just would have just had them at their current age and just said it was a year or so after that before they broke up. I'm not that big of a deal over the fact of spending time and money to de-age these kids. I don't see the point in it. Now, the other aspect is they do focus heavily on the kids, but I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. They had several flashbacks that would basically show key parts to this story, which were done very, very well. I like the way the pacing of the movie is. I like the way the story went, and they stuck true to the certain way that they had to defeat it in the book involving the ritual of Chud or whatever you want to call it. I didn't think they were going to go ahead with that route, but they actually did, and they do it in a very well done manner. I mean, it's not like massive hallucinations or nothing, except for the one part, but honestly, they do a really good job of it. Now, a lot of people have asked, like I said, this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to tell you stuff that happens in the movie. We all know how the original television miniseries ended, with it becoming a really folky-ass giant spider, them pushing him over and punching him and ripping his heart out. Do they do that in this? Not exactly. Not exactly. Honestly, once again, it falls down the line of the CGI not being that good. If they had much better CGI, I probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. I mean, but honestly, it's a lot better than the stop motion that they used in the original TV series. That's all I can say. Now, other aspects of this is, honestly, the amount of jump scares, I think, are kind of excessive, but done in a way with the gore that is really, really good and intriguing. And I really did like this movie. I personally do understand that people think it's too long, and there are several key parts that they could cut out to get the length down. In fact, there's several parts they show in the trailers that's not in the movie. So I bet when it comes out, you'll get some Uber version, some 4-hour version of this movie. I bet you they're going to do that, because there's a lot of scenes that I've seen that aren't in this theatrical release version. That's not a big deal. But all in all, I would have to say, if I gave this a rating, I'm actually going to give this a rating out of 1 to 5 stars. I give this roughly about a 4-star. I liked it just as much as the first movie, and I found it to have a lot more gore to it and a lot more scary parts to it. It's got some comedy to it as well, and all in all, I did really like this movie. I really thought it was a great way to end this movie franchise. One thing I was kind of disappointed at is they do not explain, other than briefly, who Pennywise is and how he shows up and what he is. Now, they do kind of touch on it a bit, but they don't go into massive detail, and they don't really change his origin story. So, I mean, it's, they kind of went down the line of being more true to the book with a couple different changes to it. But in the end, I would have to actually say I give this a 4 out of 5 star rating. I liked it just as much as the first one. Honestly, the only problem is they have a lot more monsters in this. That's supposed to be the representation of Pennywise actually going and scaring these kids and the adults, which I understand. But they do actually say this, that there's not that much Pennywise in this movie. And there, in fact, isn't. He is in several parts, don't get me wrong, and he's back and better than ever. Bill Skarsgård does a great job, though I have to point one thing out. Maybe you can tell me in the comments, what happened to Bill Skarsgård in this movie? Pennywise sounds like Winnie the Pooh. Every time Pennywise is talking in this movie, I just see Winnie the Pooh. He's like, I know that's ridiculous, but when you watch this movie, let me know in the comments below if you think he sounds like Winnie the freaking Pooh. He does. He sounded better in the first movie, more menacing in the first movie, and he's a lot darker and a lot more violent in this one. But like I said, his voice, the Winnie the Pooh voice, just threw me off. I love the pacing of it, even though it's really long. I didn't have to go to the bathroom once, and honestly, I wasn't bored with the movie. It goes pretty good pace, and it picks up really hectic near the end. And all in all, I would say this is a great way to end the It movie franchise. Hopefully they will have the possibility of maybe a prequel movie exploring like the young version of Pennywise, because we all know he was back from the 1800s and stuff like that. That would be cool. I'd go and see that, definitely. And I gotta say this, Stephen King even makes a cameo in this movie, which I thought was great and well done. And they even kind of poke fun, I wouldn't say fourth wall break, but they even poke fun at the fact that the guy who's in this movie, that's the writer of the books, can't come up with good endings for his stories, which is kind of funny because, they're making fun of Stephen King, the fact that his movies and his books always have terrible, crappy endings. He don't know how to end them. In this, it had an ending, honestly, kind of a bittersweet one. I would have liked to see a different ending, honestly. But in the end, like I said, 4 out of 5 star movie. I loved it. I thought it was great. It is a long one, but if you liked the first one, you'll love this one too. The young actors come back. They bring it their A game. They're fantastic. The adult actors do a fantastic job as well. I loved certain aspects that were straight from the book in here. That's fantastic. I just wish the CGI was better. CGI is awful. But in the end, I can definitely say if you liked It Chapter 1, you will like It Chapter 2. It expands on everything, has a good finale. It actually has a finish that you like. Just wish the CGI was a little bit better. Leave in the comments below if you plan on seeing It Chapter 2, if you've already seen It Chapter 2, and what you think about this movie. Do you think it's as good as the first one, or do you think it's worse, or do you think it's about the average same? And what do you think about Pennywise's voice in this movie? Please let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you think about his voice. He sounds like Winnie the Pooh. And remember, I always end my videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember people, make sure to hit that like icon, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon to stay updated whenever I release any new videos, and of course, the devil is in the details. Peace out.